You're listening to Civic Media. You can tune into any of our live shows on any radio station across the state with the Civic Media app. Find us in your phone's app store and listen anytime, anywhere. This is your WLAK Daily News Roundup for Lake Air, 107.5 FM and 1260 AM in Amory.
For WLAK News, I'm James Kelly. Another candidate has entered the 7th Congressional District field following Congressman Tom Tiffany's decision to run for governor. Former Wisconsin State Legislator Fred Clark officially launched his campaign for the seat on Wednesday. In his announcement, Clark highlighted his experience as a rural legislator and conservation leader and plans to focus on rebuilding the rural economy, expanding healthcare access, and protecting farms and forests. Jesse Eben is still the only Republican candidate to announce a run for the seat thus far. Governor Tony Evers visited Ashland on Tuesday to highlight new legislation seeking to lower utility costs for Wisconsin residents this winter. The legislation went into effect on Wednesday, eliminating the sales tax on utilities for residents. Governor Evers also spoke with local representatives from West Cap on various ways to improve the energy efficiency and weatherization of homes as temperatures begin to drop. He says exploring all available federal, state, and local resources to lower energy bills is crucial for families at this time of year. Governor Tony Evers and the Wisconsin Department of Agriculture, Trade, and Consumer Protection are sharing cybersecurity tips with residents in honor of Cybersecurity Awareness Month. State officials are recommending some actions residents can take to protect their personal data and avoid scams. Residents should use strong passwords and create different passwords for different accounts, use multi-factor authentication for additional security, update their software often to ensure they have the latest security patches, and identify and report any phishing scams they receive. A proposed bill seeking to crack down on people falsely misrepresenting their pets as service animals was heard in a state assembly committee this week. The legislation would implement a $500 fine for providing false documentation to obtain a service animal. It could also fine healthcare providers who prescribe an emotional support animal to patients who have been in their care for less than 30 days. Critics of the legislation say enforcing the law would be especially challenging due to concerns over legal troubles with privacy. Department of Transportation officials are reminding Birchwood area residents of ongoing road closures in the area through the end of the month. According to a press release, highway crews will be working on culvert replacements, grading, and pulverizing work on Nice Lake Road between Berry Road and County Highway T in Birchwood Township. Intermittent closures for construction work could be in place Monday through Thursday from 6:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. until November 1st. No detour will be signed, so residents should plan their routes accordingly. The Wisconsin State Public Defender's Office is advising residents of an accidental release of thousands of Social Security numbers. According to a Fox 21 report, a Superior resident had submitted a public records request to the organization, but mistakenly received the personal information of thousands of Wisconsin residents in an email link. The man says he did not copy or distribute any of the information and will delete it once he receives confirmation from the organization that he will not be in any legal danger as a result of the release. Wisconsin Attorney General Josh Kaul has announced another court order protecting federal funding. The court order protects federal funding for state energy programs following a multi-state lawsuit filed in August. The coalition was challenging the U.S. Department of Energy placing a 10% cap on reimbursements for indirect and fringe costs on energy projects. If the cap had remained, Attorney General Kaul says reimbursements would have dropped from around $370,000 to just $130,000 in Wisconsin. Barron County organizations are inviting area residents to a number of events honoring Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Officials from Embrace are promoting a number of events with various local partners, including libraries, small businesses, and grocery stores, in an effort to highlight the available resources for people struggling with domestic violence. The organization is also inviting residents to participate in their 6th annual Survived and Incarcerated in Wisconsin letter writing event, which will be held virtually on October 30th. Wisconsin Appeals Court Judge Maria Lazar has officially launched her campaign against Judge Chris Taylor in the 2026 state Supreme Court election. Judge Lazar is the first conservative candidate to enter the race after current Wisconsin Supreme Court Justice Rebecca Bradley announced she would not be seeking re-election. In her campaign announcement on Wednesday, Judge Lazar said she's running to remove politics from the court system. If victorious, the liberal majority on the state's highest court would be held to just 4-3. Governor Tony Evers and the Wisconsin Department of Children and Families have announced an increase in child care subsidies going into effect this month. According to a press release, the maximum subsidy rate under the Wisconsin Shares Child Care Subsidy Program will now be at or above the price of 75% of child care slots. The previous rate in 2025 had been at or above about 41% of slots. The change will benefit around 15,000 families by providing average savings of around $175 per month. For WLAK News, I'm James Kelly.
New faces on the Bucs roster. Hi, I'm Mike Clemens with sports. NBA head coach Doc Rivers revealed that when he first arrived in Milwaukee, he told GM John Horst straight up the Bucs roster was too old and too slow.
John knew, we talked about it. I felt strongly that it's hard to win at the pace that we were trying to play at. We still won games and we were good, but, I just felt strongly that we need more speed. We need more guys that can guard multiple positions.
The Bucs training camp now underway. College football. Wisconsin faces number 20th ranked Michigan. Kickoff 11 a.m. Saturday. Badgers quarterback Danny O'Neal has already been sacked 13 times so far in just the first 4 games of this season. That's one more than the 12 sacks they allowed all last year.
Maybe changing up what we do pre-snap a little bit, trying to simplify some things. We know what we're going to see. We just got to be able to go translate it from the film room to the field and from practice to the game.
That's Badgers quarterback Danny O'Neal with Sports on Mike Clemens.
After his recent suspension and then being put back on the air within a week, Jimmy Kimmel gave an emotional and hilarious monologue upon his return to Jimmy Kimmel Live. Not only was it highly rated on TV, Kimmel's monologue set a record on YouTube. The host's opening segment reached almost 18 million views on YouTube within 22 hours of being posted, making it the most watched monologue in the history of YouTube, according to Variety. A Wheel of Fortune contestant from Connecticut has won the biggest jackpot in the show's history at a little over $1 million. Christina Deravianic told Ryan Seacrest that if she won the $1 million, she would put in her 2 weeks' notice at work, at which point Seacrest reminded her boss was in the crowd. Deravianic said she is going to pay off her student loans and buy a house with the money. She also won trips to Japan and Montana before winning the $1 million. In addition to all that, she received a hug from the iconic Vanna White. Celebrities like Emily Blunt, Ben Stiller, Mark Ruffalo, Tom Hanks, and Scarlett Johansson have all been vocal about their opposition to AI in the entertainment business. Yesterday in The Beats, I mentioned Tilly Norwood, an AI actress who even has an Instagram account and whose creator says she will probably be signed by a talent agency soon. As you can imagine, that did not sit well with actors. One in particular, Melissa Barrera, who has been part of the Scream franchise, recently said that any agency that signs an AI performer should be boycotted. 2 prominent talent agencies, the William Morris Endeavor and the Gersh Agency, have vowed they will not sign the Tilly Norwood creation or other AI actors. According to Yahoo Entertainment, a representative from the William Morris Endeavor says they only represent humans. That's a very admirable stance. I just wish when they represented me, they would have returned my calls quicker. Seriously, though, it is a small victory. I hope the momentum continues. For more showbiz fun, tune into Nightlight with me, Pete Schwaba, weeknights from 6 to 8 p.m. on the Civic Media Radio Network.
This sunny, hot, summery weather is going to continue for a few more days. We are going to start to feel a little more like fall next week. But today, sunshine, we're talking highs back in the mid-80s this afternoon. Tonight, clear with a low in the upper 50s to low 60s. Tomorrow, sunshine with a high in the mid to upper 80s. I'm meteorologist Sean Cable. Outside now, it's 61.
That's your WLAK Daily News Roundup from Civic Media. Subscribe to this podcast on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you find your podcasts. Find more news at lakeair.radio. The national news cycle never stops. but it can be hard to find news about your local community. Civic Media is dedicated to providing quality local and state news coverage across Wisconsin. With the Civic Media app, you can get notifications about local stories that matter to you and your community. Find the free Civic Media app in your phone's app store and choose notifications from the menu to tell us what kind of news you want to hear about.